Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. This is the Marion City Council work session, Tuesday, May 16th. Start with finance.
Yes, Your Honor. I only have one item that's been started on the agenda. It's the public hearing that we'll have on Thursday. It's to amend our budget for the second time this year. Whenever you anticipate exceeding the budget, you have to first amend it so you can get that spending authority. So we're needing to do that again here before the end of the year. Last meeting, you should have got a memo from me or from my department kind of outlining those items that really we need to amend the budget for. If you remember, the largest item was the fire engine by far. And then there was a kind of a little laundry list of other items on there that we need to tweak the budget and get the spending authority for. But we'll have the hearing and then follow that up with a resolution. Hopefully that will pass and we'll be good to go. So unless there's some questions.
Other questions? So again, just for everyone's sake, just briefly explain why we have to do this periodically. I know it's been explained to us in the past that sometimes things fall in the year when they weren't anticipated to fall, or they fall in a different year from when.
Well, it's a couple different reasons. For example, the fire engine, that's something that just wasn't budgeted in the current year, so we have to amend the budget to give us that authority to purchase that fire engine. Maybe what you're referring to too is some capital projects. When we did it in the fall, we had some carryovers because you never know when to budget. And Dan can speak to this more, but if you have $1 million project and you budget it in a certain year, but because the year falls on June 30th, right in the middle of construction season, you really don't know how much you're going to spend in one year versus the following year. So you may have to amend the budget to carry over some of that money that you were anticipating spending and put that into the following year. You're not doubling the cost of the project. You're just kind of shuffling the money in the year you're going to spend it.
That's often the case why we amend the budget.
Quite often.
From what I understand, right? Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Public service.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think item number 2 is the first one that starred. This is a resolution approving a contract amendment with Aramark. Aramark's our current uniform provider. At staff, we provide uniforms for them. Instead of going out for bid, we decided to jump on Cedar Rapids' bid. By doing that, we should be able to keep the contract for the next 3 years at least. We'll have the option to go another 2, but then we'll be able to cut our current costs by at least half. When you get a big city like Cedar Rapids going out for bid, typically they have a lot of people, and the cost for those services are much cheaper than a smaller city like us. So that's what the board has approved, and that's what we're recommending. So if there's any questions on that?
Okay.
No? Okay. Move on to item number 3. This will be the second reading for the solid waste ordinance. What this is a fee increase. We spoke about this during the budget hearing. We are recommending raising the base fees from $14.25 to $14.50, and then the current extra bag tags with the garbage collections that we provide. We're recommending raising those from $1.75 to $2. Much of this is due in part to the increase in tipping fees at the solid waste agency, as well as the recycling rates are still up there quite a bit. Last council meeting, the city council did pass the approval of the credit from the solid waste agency. That'll help us keep the cost at least there for now, but this is what we're recommending to the council. Up to this point, we haven't gotten any calls. This has been the quietest. Usually we do get some phone calls about the fee increases, but this has been the quietest out of them all. This is something we have to do. So any questions about that?
Okay.
Good. Okay, moving on. 4, 5, and 6. These are somewhat all interrelated. These have to do with the eco-industrial park. We've had a lot of discussion about this. But the first thing that we'd like to discuss, here is the overall site concept. This is a concept plan that we threw together last year. This shows or illustrates 3 phases of the park. The first phase, which is the main public service facility in the de-icer building. Second phase would include a retail fueling station, and then the third phase would include a new compost facility. We're at a point with that facility we need to expand, as with the rest of our facilities. The first phase, the ones we are going to discuss mainly tonight, that is the area in the black, I guess, area right here. That is the main facility. That's the proposed public service facilities. That includes the de-icer building. We're to a point where we are comfortable with the infrastructure plans as well as the financing. We're going to ask the council to go ahead and move, at least try to progress this project to the next stage. What that includes is putting together a financing package. Item number 5 approves an engagement agreement with Piper Jaffray. And that's exactly what that is. They're going to look at all the financing that goes into this. They're going to retain bond counsel, and then they'll advise the city as to what would be the appropriate financing package for the city. With that, they'll also review the placement, or be in charge of the placement if the council decides to move forward with this. And then from that point on, they'll be in charge of that as well. And so if the council remembers, we're in a point right now where our fabric tension structure is beginning to fail. We've been through this a number of times. That's our main extension off the facility. And then here is our de-icer facility. If you go there, we just took the back wall down there. And so these fabric tension structures, we did a structural analysis some years back. They were found to be inadequate. So we've been putting plans together to progress to at least this phase of the development. The objective of what we're trying to do is cost savings. We went into what we're going to be doing. Sorry, that's small. But the whole objective is to switch to alternative fuels in this first phase, providing a cost savings to us. And so what we're projecting over the next 15 years at a minimum, we should save about $6.8 million. And so our plan is to offset the cost of the infrastructure by utilizing cost savings from the fuel. Okay. Any questions up to this point? Talked about this, and I know it's a lot of moving parts, but we're to the point where we feel pretty comfortable moving forward.
Which phrase right into the solar come in there? We have a bunch of solar panels.
We do. We have a bunch of distributed generation. In the first phase, that will be part of it. But with what I call the renewable energies, that's something that's going to come with the facility build-outs. That's something we haven't discussed yet. The city does not have to provide any financing for that. That is all privately financed. And what we're working on is what they call a power purchase agreement, where a private firm would hold the note, or they would hold the property of those facilities. And then through a power purchase agreement, we would buy back the energy like we do through Alliant, but it'd be through a different retailer at that point.
Huge area.
It's a very large area. That's why we did it. It's very well staged for both solar and some other distributive generation. That's why that site was entertained, because of the infrastructure there.
Your site plan that you have the picture of up, it's different than what we have in our packet.
Which one do you have? Probably this one?
Yes, that's what we have.
That's the one you have.
Yes.
This is the site plan. We had to modify this a little bit due to workflow. The next step where we're going to do is that we have to complete the site plan. We have to submit it to the city for review. They'll approve on it. And then from there, we'll be asking to pull a grading permit. So you have questions on that?
Are there still solar farms?
Yes, you don't see them there. I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. We took them off for ease because we wanted to show where the sanitary lines were, as well as some of the other utility lines coming in. So we wanted to make it a little bit easier concept. And so the nice thing about the solar panels, they're very flexible as to where they can go. We are looking at ground mount solar. The council was like, I'd be happy to brief them on that. It's just not part of this first phase of the project.
And that's still the salt storage on the...
That's correct. We had to shift that around. We're trying to... The tricky part of this is that's a very large facility. We're trying to get the stormwater to work in the way we want it to work. And so we have to slide buildings a little bit one way or another. So we had to slide that one back a little bit and twist it in order to get the stormwater into the retention area. After this, after this phase, what we'd like to do is come back, be about 3 to 4 weeks. We have some preliminary renderings of what we're proposing, but we need to finalize our renderings in our floor plan models. We got some initial ones. I'm not comfortable sharing them yet because they're not finals, but we should have finals here yet. It's a very basic facility. It's a pre-engineered steel building. It'll look nice, but we're to the point where next phase now. So.
Thank you.
Item number 6, this is also related with the first part of the eco-industrial park. Back in November, if the city council recalls, we passed a resolution approving utility upgrades with Mid-American Energy. One of the hurdles we had to get over was getting natural gas service to the site. We had some disagreements with Mid-American as to who's going to pay for the improvements. They will be picking up the costs on those improvements. But we have to be in a position to where we have to establish some final grade in order for them to make the utility extensions there. So at this point, we're comfortable with initiating what we call an early grading package. We have plans and specifications put together, and what we would propose to do is bidding this out like we'd bid out any other public improvement project, and then this would at least prepare the site for the next stage, and that's when we do a selection of the contractor, and the council would actually approve the next phase of the project with the facility. So if you haven't been out to the site, there's a lot of grade work to do. There's a lot of earth to move. It's going to take them a few months to do that at best. And so we want to get a jump on that so Mid-Am can get in there and start getting the gas lines in. So we figured we had a budget around $300,000. We have that in our current budget this year to go ahead and pay for it. We plan for that. And so these utility improvements will be kind of the next step to getting the site ready. So.
Ryan, does this phase move us any closer to the zero waste goal?
Yes.
How?
How we're putting, let me back up to kind of the first slide. The way we're putting this together is that right now our most vital infrastructure improvement that we need is our facility. We need a building, obviously, to house our equipment and everything like that. The next, and right here, is our current compost facility, okay? It's right here. And so if you were to look in an aerial right now, we're running out of room even there. And so with this first stage, that's going to put us in a position to where we can start moving the facilities around. And so by doing that, what we're proposing to do is moving the compost facility over here. One of the proposals we have with this compost facility is that there will be what we call a material recovery facility in there. Okay, we've been working very hard on this, and we're in a very good spot with this as well. We just don't want to move too quick and get ahead of ourselves. And so with this proposed development, we will have the ability to take many various forms of solid waste, including yard waste, municipal solid waste, to the facilities over here and get to our goals of being a zero waste community. I haven't briefed the council about where we're at with this lately. I'd be happy to, but mainly we've been focused on the first phase of this project. That'll really get us in a position to start switching us all over for the additional phases of the project.
Okay.
So,
thanks. I think it's important for everyone to understand how this moves us closer. I mean,
it does.
It's going to be a multi-phase process to get to our goal, but this is a necessary beginning step, correct?
Yes, that is correct. We're trying to keep it simple, though, so everybody understands what we're doing. Mm-hmm. But a lot of these projects are in parallel right now. I haven't talked about the second phase. The second phase is a fueling station. That's pretty far along, too. That's going to come up here pretty soon. Actually, these are just preliminary drawings. We're going to have final ones here in the next probably 2 weeks. But here's our proposed facility, and then here's 44th Street, and this is the proposed improvements that we're looking at for what we call a retail fueling facility. This will not only provide conventional fuels to the public, but also all alternative fuels, including natural gas. Right here is the compressed natural gas infrastructure. These are compressors. It'll be capable of delivering to both sites, ours as well as over here. And then right now we're working with a retail fuel provider to go ahead and finalize this project. And so our objective of phase 2 is to have someone come in, lease the infrastructure from us to offset the improvement costs here, and then provide that opportunity to the public to purchase fuel from this site. And so that's progressing along very nicely, but we want to get the first part of the phase done, get everything grading, and then we can go ahead and head into the second phase, so on and so forth. So, any questions about that?
Questions for Ryan? Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon.
Your Honor, members of the council. As you will see on the agenda, we have 3 choices for you on the resolution of fireworks. The first one is banning them, the use. We're only talking about the use. I remind you that the sale, we have to sell them within the city limits per the state law. So just for the use, the first one is to ban. The second is to allow for the full length of time that the state allows, June 1st through July 8th and December 10th through January 3rd. And your third choice there is limiting the use. Chief McHale has recommended that we limit the use to the 2 weeks. So I would go along with that. And so that's where we're at. To give you an update where the corridor is at, Cedar Rapids, I spoke with the fire chief today. He's recommending they be banned, but he's not sure at all how the council is going to vote. Hiawatha is going to allow full use for the full time limit. Coralville is going to ban. Iowa City is going to ban. Waterloo is going to use a limited time, June 30th through July 4th. Cedar Falls is going to allow full use. They voted last night 6-1 to allow full use for the entire period. I spoke with Linn County Board of Supervisors Jim Hauser today, and they're still not sure what they're going to do, and they have a meeting tomorrow night, and it's not on the agenda. They did assign someone to investigate what they're going to do, but they only investigated the sale and the permit of the sale of use. They haven't even discussed consumer use. So I have no idea where Linn County's at yet, and they don't either. So anyway, that's where the corridor stands. To help you out also, together real quick today.
Thank you.
There's been a lot of email back and forth with the Iowa Professional Fire Chiefs, and these are the comments I've received so far. These are not final decisions by the councils. The only one that is a final decision, actually there's 2, Cedar Falls and Johnston are the only ones that the council has voted. The fire chiefs are suggesting to me this is what they are hoping to see in their cities. So just to give you an update on where everyone else in the state is so far. Also attached to this, you'll see the emails that I received from those fire chiefs and their comments, what they've said about their councils and their feelings. So just to help give you some direction, as I've said before, it is up to the council to decide this because it has to do with the constituency. I don't feel I should recommend banning or not banning, because if you went by what I recommend, I'd recommend that all homes be sprinklered. So Um, Chief McHale and I discussed it, and we find that the 2 weeks is what we would like to see, and that's where we stand right now. But it is up to the council to decide whether to ban them, use them for the full amount allowed by the state, or to limit the use.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do I get a feeling anyway?
Well, I've only received one email from someone who was concerned about allowing the use altogether,
Yes.
and I think I forwarded that one to you.
Yes, you did.
I think the concern is mostly the noise. I guess my concern would be more the safety issue, but seems like, I don't know, what do you think people are most concerned about, the people that don't?
And that was our concern as the professional fire chiefs. We legislated very strongly against the legislature to pass this bill.
Yeah.
But it passed. So now we're dealing with it. Reality is, if you sell it, are they going to use them? I feel sorry actually for law enforcement on this, trying to enforce it.
If I may, if you all out ban them, you're going to, we're going to be busy because it's going to be a conflict. If you limit the use of them initially, you can always expand that at some point, probably against chief's recommendation, but it's easier to go that way. They're going to use them no matter what. They have greater access to them. Everybody does. And so just the small window, as Chief said and Chief McHale recommends, the smaller window is what we recommend also. But if not, we're going to be dealing with the product that's legal to possess, but not legal to discharge.
And that's the prior discussions we've had on this. I think that's sort of what the general discussion focused on was. They're going to be available. People are going to have them. Might as well give them an outlet, a reasonable window of time to use them, because they're going to use them anyway. And maybe they'll use them all up in that period of time. Who knows? I mean, we'll have to just see how it goes. And you're right, we can make adjustments. Do you have any sense that the cities that are just going to ban them altogether, ban use altogether? I mean, have they considered this line of thinking, or what's their reasoning?
They've made no indications that they've even spoken with their law enforcement. So I don't know how they plan on trying to enforce.
We don't want to be fun haters. I mean, that's what it comes down to. We want to give this window, and to be able to enforce this, the window, in my opinion, the window is way too large on the state level. Yeah. That's just, you got dogs, you got cats, you got people with special needs. It puts an added burden on those people. But we don't want to, limit those people that can have some fun with them or they think is fun.
And as I said before, what you decide this year can be changed next year. What I plan on doing is, if you do pass a limited time limit, or if you do pass it to follow the state's time limit, I'm going to develop a database where all complaints are going to be kept, all fires, all injuries, and we'll have that database so next year you can take a look and see if you want to continue with the path we're going.
So maybe inform us a little bit, what's been our record in the past in terms of the safety issues, fires, or do we?
As a matter of fact, we had a fire this weekend because of fireworks.
We did, okay.
And they're not legal yet. Some kids were just playing with them, and they threw them into a dumpster, and the dumpster started on fire. So it wasn't anything big. But as I told you before, last year we did have 3 fires due to fireworks in homes. One of those homes was extensively damaged, but what they did was just not too, they shouldn't have done what they did. So, and alcohol was involved.
Do you have another one of your handouts for
Yes.
Dave?
I mean, do you expect those incidences to increase? I mean, I guess with increased opportunity for use, you're going to have probably,
Well, since the state passed the law, I expect it to increase no matter what you do.
regardless of what we do.
Yes.
Just by pure volume, I think you would have to anticipate an increase in everything that we do. The response, annual response to fireworks being discharged is monthly. Obviously, it gets up closer when we get around the holidays, so it's just a matter of the season.
And I would recommend to anyone who has a complaint to file it with their state legislator.
Yeah. Okay, any other
Put us
questions?
in this
from-
position.
All right, we do have in our little packet that was laying here, a letter from somebody wishing to be licensed to
Yes.
sell fireworks.
The city has received numerous calls.
People wanting to be licensed to sell them.
And as of right now, the state fire marshal's office, is starting the licensing process. They're going to start next week with that process. So then we can start with our process of selling. But that has nothing to do with the use is what you're considering right now.
Right. Well, I mean, for me personally, my inclination would be to defer to the wisdom of the chiefs and follow their recommendation. That would be my personal inclination, and I think that, see how it goes, and if we need to adjust it or tighten it up next year or do something different, we can always do that.
So how do you want that on Thursday's agenda? Do you want to
Well-
leave all three on, or do you
I don't know.
already
Depends
have
on
a sense of where
Depends
you're
on how
going?
everybody else is leaning.
I'll say I've been talking to a lot of people about it, and I've had this conversation with you, and I've still, every single person I've asked has said they want to see it where you can use them during the allowed time to sell them. So I've not had anybody say they want a limited time of use.
Okay. But
I've had
But-
quite a few people.
But when faced with banning them or having a limited use, would they choose the limited use?
I would say probably limited use, yeah.
Okay.
But I would just say that I'm probably going to vote towards use during the time that they're for sale, just because that's what people are telling me they want to do, or they want.
Okay, so that would be your preference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to do something that would, the PD is put in a position where they've got to reply to these complaints, and that's my concern is that, that we're sensible enough to have a short enough period of time that we don't have the PD wearing their wheels out, making calls on the thing and fire worrying about it. And I don't think, Chief, you can require a sprinkled building to sell them, which I know you'd like to do.
That's
We
my
don't have many
recommendation.
sprinkled buildings in Marion, or fire-resistive buildings, so we're going to have to think of what the code ordinance is on the proper sales location if we reach that point.
Yeah, and we've already determined that.
Okay.
I'll vote probably for sure, for the limited use, but I worry about the people that have PTSD, and, I hope their neighborhood, they get along in their neighborhood, and maybe, if there is someone in the neighborhood, they'll, take that in consideration.
I will tell you that you'll probably hear from some of the public Thursday night. We've gotten some phone calls, and they wanted to know how they could make their feelings known, and we told them, of course, you can appear before the council. So during that item, you may want to ask for public input.
Okay. Other,
Else?
I would probably lean toward the limited use, which the chiefs have recommended initially. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I think it's wise to at least offer that during those period of times, not so much from the time they were sold. I like the kind of the week before, week after, on Christmas and around that New Year's and so on. With an understanding, knowing that will they be used outside of that, probably, but
yeah.
As I said before, it can be changed next year. I will keep a database to
Yep.
see how this goes.
We're going to keep, so if it goes just the 2 weeks,
Yep.
keep track of how many calls
Oh yeah, we can pull that. We can pull that information off the database. But as Ms. Etzel spoke about the PTSD and the other special needs, if you went with what the state offers, you're almost doubling or more the window of discharge for these fireworks. This is a hybrid approach to both banning and also the full use of them. And as Chief said, once you get this and get a year underneath your belt, you might be able to make a different decision in their usage and also a more educated one with some data.
Yeah, because this is new territory. I mean, when was the last time they were legal in Iowa?
1920s.
1920s. So no one here today has any experience with how it worked back then.
Exactly.
So,
Well, maybe.
maybe.
She isn't here.
He's
but-
not here, right?
Any other
So,
questions or
no.
concerns?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, as Dan comes up, I'd like to make mention that I went out to parks, and Mike, how many trees were planted in Waldo's Rock and other parks by the kids yesterday?
We did 39 trees, I believe it was.
Excuse me. We did 39 trees out at Waldo's yesterday with the kids from Marion High School was part of their One Day in May project.
Trees Forever was participating, and those young students went and worked all day in the cemetery, cleaning up down there, I understand, so.
Yep,
it was quite a day.
we had a group cemetery, group in the uptown area cleaning up. We had another group out at Lowell Park doing maintenance activities out there also. So they were spread, and that's just in Parks and Rec, but they were spread all over the community yesterday. Great group of kids that we had.
Yeah.
You tell them we can use them more than one day a year. And
We also had a group painting inlets, storm inlets. They did about 400 of them
wow.
during that time, 3-hour period. So
It's a great project. I had the opportunity to come down and meet them while they were eating lunch at the park, and got to thank them in person. And just a great group of kids, and and hopefully, doing this, they realize that there are needs, and they'll
Yeah.
continue to volunteer into adulthood to volunteer. But this is a great way they show how much they care about the city. So.
And they don't
over
just
the
go to
last 3
city.
years, we've painted intakes and did some cleaning, and I think we're just about done with painting all of our intakes. So we're getting to the point where we're looking at every other year now. So.
And they don't just do city stuff. I mean, two of my daughters were involved in it at Marion High School, and one was out at Winslow House working out there, landscaping and stuff. And then they did stuff obviously at the campus, Marion campus too. So
Great.
yeah, definitely.
Okay.
We'll start with item number 9 under the engineering agenda. First of all, I want to apologize for bringing this while Mary Lou wasn't here, but I think we all know where Mary Lou stands, so we can have this discussion, I guess.
I will have her argument.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the demolition of the former 7th Avenue Railroad Bridge. This is in connection with the Seymour Trail and the Alburnett Road Extension projects. On March 23rd, City Council directed staff to go ahead and further investigate the demolition of the bridge. You can see this is the bridge here. This is the center pier in the middle of the 4 lanes. We are proposing to remove this pier on the north side, and the pier on the south side, and then we would remove all of the deck. All the deck is steel. You can see on the top that it is rock. The rails are gone, ties are still there. You can see that this is where the walkway was, and you can see that some of the boards are here, and some of them are hanging pretty precariously over the travel lanes. So if we don't decide to demolish, we need to probably get somebody up there and do some work. So what we did was, because of the CIP includes $2.3 million for the extension project in 17 and 18, we decided to propose that outside of the other projects to get the bridge taken care of, so that when we're ready to do other work, which we hope to be soon, that we can move forward with those parts of the project and being that this is going to be paid through the CMPO trail dollars, it's going to take time to get that through the DOT, funding through the letting process, all of that, so that we need to get this moving forward.
The disassembly of the bridge is CMPO dollars? Okay.
So
It's important for everybody to understand that, I think,
Yeah, this will not be local dollars. I think 20% will be local dollars, but we have funding for this project that includes removal and the establishment or the construction of a new bridge, all through CMPO, through DOT dollars, which is ultimately federal dollars. So.
Okay. And that would include disposal of any disposal of materials and.
Yes. Yeah. I've not been able to do any research as far as asbestos in concrete. I'm not aware of any that was done in the 60s. A lot of the asbestos went away during the 50s, and along with lead and all that other stuff that was being taken care of.
So obviously that is a concern that Councilwoman Pazur has raised, and she made it known to me too also.
And if it is a concern, we can have it tested. We will have it tested before we do the demolition.
Okay. But
normally with asbestos management only requires to keep it wet and then dispose of it properly. It may add a certain percentage to demolition or to disposal, but I don't think it would be significant.
You don't think it would add a significant expense?
No, I don't think so, given the quantity is just these 3 piers.
And if it did, the added expense comes from where?
It would be CMPO dollars.
And what would it take to find out if
we would have to remove a piece and
who
have it
built
tested.
the bridge? We don't know who built the bridge, or
well, the railroad did, yeah, but I don't know.
They
who
wouldn't
the
have those
contractor
records,
was.
or.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what the practical effect is if it ends up that there is.
The easier process would probably to take a sample and have it tested.
Councilman Pazur has been told by any number of people, and she's told by a lot of people who have connections with the railroad. It was built in 60, I believe. Is that right?
62.
Yeah. And that there was asbestos mentioned. And her disagreement, I think, is that she feels we should test it before we let a contractor tear it down. Once we start tearing it down, if we'd have to call the boys in the white suits in to tear the rest of it or to clean it up, we'd run into an enormous amount of money. And I think that's kind of a legitimate argument on her behalf. And if there would be a way that we could test that through drilling or whatever prior to letting the contractor tear it down, at least we know where we were, Dan.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but unless council is going to commit to the demolition, there's no reason to sample it. So we want that commitment before we move forward with any kind of sampling or testing that may affect the bridge in some way. So we're kind of the cart and the horse, but we really don't want to go out and spend several $1,000s on testing if we're not going to demolish the bridge. And sampling and testing would be required. If there's any chance of asbestos, that would be required by the DOT to happen prior to demolition. So
it would appear that it's substantially solid. It needs some cleanup and what have you, especially for a trail. And what I'm going to say you will never dreamt what might have come out of my mouth is, have you considered at 2nd, which will be Albernette Road, a tryabout, which would be on the other side of this, and we might be able to leave this for the trail.
Well, let me finish my report here, and we'll kind of go from there, okay? How's that sound?
All right.
We did look at 2 alignments. The approved alignment, which goes down the west side of 2nd Street, we would remove 3 residences at about a cost of $500,000. We looked at shifting that alignment to the east, which would allow for the bridge to stay, would require us to remove 5 residences at a cost, and 1 business at a cost of about $900,000. So you've already added $400,000 to the project, which I guess is okay, but you're going to take a business and possibly more than that. We have some businesses on the north end that we may have to take as well.
That's because of the width of 2nd Street, as Albernette Road, as it becomes Albernette Road?
Yeah, Albernette Road would be 4 lanes, plus a left turn
Well,
bay.
regardless if you tear this down or not, you're gonna have to buy that property. Because you're gonna
No.
have to widen the road.
You're going to widen it either to the west or to the east.
Right.
To
So
the
you're gonna
west,
have to
we
buy
would
one
take
side or the other.
yeah, but to the east side is twice as much.
Right, because of the business.
Yes, and the 2 other residences. So we've estimated the cost of demolition of about $303,000, and that's what we're recommending. When you leave the bridge, you use the bridge, it's really going to limit on what we can do as far as creativity, as far as what that bridge can look like. We also did a study, had the bridge consultant come in. They've given this bridge a life of about 8 years. So we would be at some point putting quite a bit of money into it in 8 years, 7 to 8 years. So
What happens in 8 years?
the lifespan is expected to be about 8 years for
Which
usability.
means what, though? I mean, wait.
Deterioration to get to the point where we would have to do substantial rehabilitation.
That was 50 trains a day, though, not 50 walkers.
No, that's considered deterioration to the point where it gets to be a hazard.
If nothing was done to it,
Yes.
if it was just left the way it is.
So structurally, it wouldn't be.
Structurally, it would just become a maintenance issue after about 8 years.
Okay.
And build into your motion that you're gonna ask to be passed, could we successfully amend that it will be tested for asbestos prior to?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean,
I think that would
I can stand
satisfy-
here and say we would do that. I don't know if you need a motion to say
Well,
that,
I think they can drill.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
somewhat
That would-
satisfy Councilman Pazur, I think.
That would be part of the process anyway?
Yes.
Is that what I mean, I thought.
If there's any rumor of asbestos, the DOT would require us to test it. We would go back and try to find the records. If there's an interest in demolition, we would go back and investigate the records for construction with the railroad if possible. Railroad keeps pretty lousy records. So we would do that, but at minimum, we would sample it, given the concern.
No matter what happens with the bridge, wouldn't you want to, because even if the bridge wasn't going to be torn down, say it wasn't going to be torn down, and because there would have to be some maintenance to it at times to keep it, from deteriorating, wouldn't you want to know whether or not it was asbestos in it anyway?
Yes. If it's going to start falling down or
Yeah.
whatever, you're going to want to know that.
Yeah.
This is the main concern here is this pier. This is going to all start flaking off pretty quick and start peeling and falling off.
So is it the piers where the asbestos may be? I mean, the bridge itself is
If it is, yeah, because the rest of it's all steel.
steel, yeah.
It's all steel.
That'd be lifted out of there in one piece?
Yes, actually, I did some investigating. Lon had actually suggested that we recycle or repurpose a part of it. I went up and walked it. Each section between each pier is about 60 feet, and each section, each span is 2 longitudinal multi-beam pieces that are welded in at each location over the pier and set on rockers here. So with a very little effort, we could lift those off there and relocate them somewhere.
So essentially, it would be 4 pieces?
There would be 6 pieces.
6 pieces?
Yep.
Yeah, because they're on each side.
Yeah, there's
Middle is actually open on it.
So you could use them on a trail?
anywhere, yeah,
You could-
absolutely.
Use them somehow to
Here's
preserve it as part of the history?
you can see that here's one set here, and here's one
Yeah,
set here.
that's,
Yeah, absolutely. If we wanted to repurpose them, relocate them, some of them, one of them, they're big and they're heavy, but Lon suggested a Chinook come in and lift them off, and but somehow we would have to relocate them. But I think that's a possibility if we want to do that.
at some point in time, we may get enough together to have a railroad history area, and that would be good to have there.
Yeah, we've kind of been looking over on between 31st and 35th. There's some space over there that we could move whether it's this bridge or
You'd
whether,
have room for
or
a car
whether
and a
it's-
train,
yeah.
an engine, and
yeah,
tender and
anything. Yep. There's not a lot of room over there, but there's quite a bit of room.
now, try about.
I don't know what you mean by a drive-out. Never heard of
Well,
it.
there's only
A roundabout with three
three.
outlets.
I think you made up the word.
The roundabout is a danabout. This is a tryabout. This is a fallabout. You have 7th Avenue, you have Albernet Road, which is going to end at 7th Avenue.
Yep.
So you'd have 7th Avenue, east and west, and Albernet Road coming in, and putting a roundabout in there rather than a stop-and-go light, or it would be just 3 streets coming into it, much like we have currently.
Well, that's probably still considered a roundabout, but it'd be a
Well,
three-legged
whatever.
roundabout. We did look at that. We looked at the operations and the heavy left turns that would be required, and the roundabout breaks down when you do that. It was not the recommendation of the engineer, and it would not be my recommendation either to put a roundabout at this location. Also because whatever you put at 8th Avenue would create backup between the 2 roundabouts or the signal. The traffic just breaks down too quickly during high peaks. So
I was just trying to eliminate your left turn lane, you know.
you still got to have a splitter island. You still got to have.
They have 4 lanes going in.
Yeah, we looked at it. The layout actually, without moving the roundabout, taking those businesses or more on the east side, the roundabout does not work. I appreciate the interest, but we did look at that. We looked at all the action and the volumes, and it just really breaks down too quickly. You can bet I wanted to put roundabouts there, but.
Come a long way.
So on Thursday, we're going to have a resolution recommending the demolition. Basically, what that does allows us to get with the DOT and start the process of splitting this portion out of the CMAR Trail scope of service, which allows us to move forward with it. So we will come back with a project calendar. We'll come back with an agreement with the DOT, and we'll come back with the letting and contract approval. So you'll have other time to look at this. We're just trying to get direction so that we can move forward with amending the contract with the engineering firm so that we can put plans together. They'll be pretty small plans, but plans for demolition. So, directing the contractor.
I'm guessing there will be a certain point in time that will be out of commission, 7th Avenue going through there during demolition.
The proposal is that we would push traffic head-to-head in the north lanes, take the south span out, and then vice versa. We're also proposing that once the pier and the bridge comes out, that we would take the splitter island out, which would allow us to add a left turn bay for both the mall and for 2nd Street. Currently, right now, we've had, I think it was 14 accidents over the last 5 years, mainly having to do with 2nd Street. I think a lot of them are rear ends with this left lane being congested.
Yeah,
it will definitely help with that safety for the short term and for the long term.
I've seen a number of near accidents there. People wanting to turn left and traffic coming and
It's a little
screeching to a halt
hazardous.
behind them.
It gets a lot of volume, so we're not really recommending to do anything with it because the accident rate is fairly low, but they do still occur.
So then what you said about the possible reuse of the deck, how's that going to work into the project calendar and all that if we don't know if there is a use for the deck? I mean, is it going to just be saved somewhere, or is it going to be?
Well, as we process through the development of the project, we would want direction from council on to what we would salvage. If there's something that we want to keep and relocate and store somewhere, we can do that. The deck itself, all the steel has quite a bit of value for salvage for the contractor. So anything that's not being repurposed, the contractor would salvage and take off his price for.
Yeah, so it's kind of important to know up front
Absolutely.
what the potential is for reuse, because you'd want that clear with the contractor that this is ours and not yours for salvage.
Yeah, and through some discussion, like I said, we've got a lot of work to do between now and the demolition. So we can get with council. Maybe I'll send some email out, that kind of stuff, and kind of get some ideas. We have some ideas internally that we'd like to do. Just have a discussion on that so that by the time we get to the construction plans and the project calendar, we would know what those expectations are. Is that okay?
No, I think the potential of reusing it somewhere else is, I think, is a positive thing.
I don't think we want to reuse all of it. It's a big structure, but we could definitely use part of it. That'd be my recommendation. But it's just the center span is 180 feet long. That's half a block, half a city block. So. Okay. Any other questions?
I guess my question is about Elbernet Road.
Okay.
So we haven't approved that yet.
No, you've approved an alignment.
Right.
You didn't. A previous council did.
Sure.
We have that report coming soon.
Okay. For us to see.
Very soon.
Okay.
But if you're not going to approve the bridge once again, if you're not going to approve the demolition of the bridge, we could probably stop that contract today. They're doing work with the assumption at this point that the bridge is going out. We're looking at those removals, those acquisitions on the west side of 2nd Street. We're looking at an alignment that allows for the, I want to say, the better use of the park. If we push all that east, we've got problems with a little bit more with the north side of the park, with the bathrooms, with that kind of stuff. So it creates some more issues. But for us, we're going forward with the alignment that a previous council approved and you have directed us to use. So
I guess I was just getting at when are we going to see
the pretty quick. Actually, we're doing an open house on the 23rd in this room at 4 to 6:30. That announcement's going out. I think it went out this week in our newsletter.
May 23rd?
May 23rd. At that point, we'll be taking public input. A lot of the decisions have been made based on limits on what we can really do. And we'll start meeting with acquisition properties after that date. We're moving forward on what we, I guess at this time, assume is the direction from council.
And what's going to happen with Merle Gardens?
There's about 60 to 70 feet of the east side of that will be lost. I don't have that with me, otherwise I could show you, but if you'd want to stop by, I could show you. Quite a bit of that garden goes away. That was always the intent. I know that we've met with the Parks Board already, talked about it. We met with the Water Board, talked to them about the facility that they have at that location as well, and they all seem okay, I guess, with it. So we're doing our legwork on it. We just haven't been to council yet. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Other questions?
Okay, so the next item number 10, is no parking on the new section of Tower Terrace Road. That's kind of a slam dunk, I guess, in the sense that it's major arterial. We have bike lanes on that section, so parking would be pretty difficult. It is east of 10th Street over to Winslow Road. We're proposing no parking on both sides. It's based on the classification of the street. And I guess, do you have any questions on that? So the next section is the new alignment of Winslow Road, which starts at Tower Terrace, goes up north to this bridge. All this has access control except for a couple driveways down in this area, which were added recently. We are proposing that because this is a collector, it is mostly urbanized. We're proposing that we go with no parking both sides, which meets the classification as of a collector, allows for that free flow of traffic. None of the homes, a couple of the homes otherwise do not front on Winslow Road, so they would not have the need for parking. So we are recommending that we establish no parking both sides.
From where to where?
That would be from Tower Terrace, the new section here. They're currently developing in here. This is the fitness location. And then up to past connection, up to Berry Run Bridge right here.
Okay, because I thought I read it. It made it sound like it was going all the way north to the.
There's two.
The next one.
We separated it into two resolutions because the other one may have a little more
Okay.
conversation.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, got it.
So we're good with that one.
The letter we received, and you'll have more, I'm sure, was wondering, Dan, about grass cutters, folks like that may have to park on the street to service the dwelling.
They do that all over town, and no parking areas all over town.
I mean, do we just allow that?
We do. Yeah, we really don't have any way to limit it. If they're illegally parked too long, I'm sure the police department would ask them to move on. But we have them absolutely everywhere. So.
Would we have a permit if they have a graduation party?
Yep.
In one of those houses and
yes,
be allowed to park?
we have hold harmlesses all the time for special needs for no parking. So anyhow, this location, this has always been a collector.
Right.
And during the early development, council made the decision to allow these driveways to front on Winslow, which, just like 29th, is creating long-term problems. We are recommending that we do no parking from the bridge on the south side here all the way out to the city limits here. From approximately Cape Bread Court right here out is access controlled. So at minimum, we would propose that we do both sides from Cape Bread Court out, which would require to amend the resolution. We could also live with no parking on the east side only. I think we'll have quite a few people here, so we have not received. We've only had one letter, but I think we will. We would be okay with that. Parking on both sides on a collector is very difficult. I mean, it affects EMS, it affects snow removal, garbage trucks, you name it. So we would really like to at least get it on one side. Okay. Right now, it's rural out there, so there's nobody's really feeling like they ought to park there because there's a really small shoulder on the west side and curb on the east side. Once we get this reconstructed, we get curbs on both sides, people are going to want to park on it. So we're trying to get ahead of the game here as far as
they have street mailboxes.
Mailboxes are on the west side, so we would normally put the no parking on the west side. But given all the driveways on the east side, there wouldn't be much parking then. So if you feel like if you get enough resistance, I guess, on Thursday, we would be fine. I haven't really talked to TAC, but I think we'd be fine with no parking on the east side only.
I also like the idea that, they can get hold harmless, for certain special occasions that they can actually apply to be able to do that. For like.
Yeah, we do that regularly.
Yeah.
So.
So.
And it's pretty low impact. I mean, they can go on the website, fill it out, bring it in, we get it signed. Happens pretty fast. Okay, lots of interesting things tonight, right? Not so much. Okay, so the last one was something that staff had been thinking about, but it was stimulated by a resident that was asking about city maintenance of non-official signs in the right-of-way. To start off, I'll just say that there was a Supreme Court decision in 2015 which made it unconstitutional to regulate signs by content. So it's either all signs or no signs. Now, does that mean that we go out every day and pick up every sign? Not the intent. The intent is that I don't pick up one sign and leave another sign. Retail sign or a realtor sign versus a garage sale sign.
Unless it's mine.
Yes. But the main thing in here is that we want to find out the support from council. What's your position on how you feel about what we're doing? Do you want staff to commit time to doing this? We really feel as staff that it really distracts from the driver. It creates a really ratty looking right-of-way. A lot of them get out there and they're not maintained. They're there till they blow away. So what we're recommending is some kind of a policy. I don't know that we even need a policy, but I think that's a good place to go, which directs staff on the fact that they can spend their time doing that if they're out and doing it. We want direction on whether we just deal with signs in the right-of-way or whether that planning should be looking at all kinds of signs that are behind the sidewalks and so forth. We're not recommending that. We did talk to Dubuque, Iowa City, Hiawatha, Cedar Rapids, and Ames. They're all picking up signs based on complaint or some higher level than that. So everybody is dealing with it. Everybody's addressing it. They're doing it in a little different way. But everybody is kind of trying to stay on top of it. I think the more you do it, the less people will be offenders. So if you can have a fairly strong program, you can kind of nip it a little bit and make a lot less work down the road. So I did have a fairly extensive memo, and I did include the policy within, which is supported by our code right now. It's just really, the code is there. We're just trying to look for direction from council on how aggressive you want us to be.
And the code is no signs in the public right-of-way.
Yes, no unofficial signs.
Correct.
So if there's direction from council on some level, we will go out and do some more public input, some more public information kind of things. This isn't the final step today. We know that there are like realtors out there that are very upset about the fact that we're trying to do this. But there's other places they can put signs, they can do them behind the walks, so forth. So we feel strongly that we should do this and pursue this. But what I want to say is that this isn't the last step of it. We're not expecting you to approve something on Thursday. In fact, you won't see anything on Thursday. This is just giving us direction on what you want.
Realtor?
Enforce it. I follow the rules, so.
I mean, how do you, just as a practical matter?
By putting a sign out?
Yeah.
It's going to be in the, knock on the door of the property owner and make sure I have permission to put it in their property.
That works.
And I've never had anybody tell me no.
I mean, that's what, at election time, that's what they do. They put them on
Right.
private property
Correct.
and they ask the owner. And I don't see a problem with that either.
We don't use as many directional signs as we used to now anyway because of phones.
Correct.
You know, so
Your Honor,
I find it pretty easy.
Yes, sir.
on a nice, I mean, in early April, we've gone out over the lunch hour, a staff of 3 people, and collected over 100 signs in 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from garage sales to real estate. If it's in the right of way, we've grabbed it. That's an hour in one neighborhood, or a large neighborhood. That's 100 signs. That's filling the back of a truck.
So what are you saying?
We aggressively enforce it today, but I mean it's a complaint basis for the most part, and we get a bunch of complaints. We go out there, but the biggest thing is site visibility. You get some these major corridors. I mean I know the YMCA corridor, the intersection there. You'll get 5-6 signs on that thing, and you got kids on bikes, and I mean fortunately, most of these signs are low, but they start putting them on poles, and it's unsightly, but it's dangerous. I mean, these signs do offer, and they do hide. They put them on stop signs. They put them on no parking signs.
So you're okay with the enforcement?
It's a lot of staff time, but it makes the community look a lot cleaner and a lot safer. I mean, we're going to continue to enforce our code and go after the signs when we do get a complaint, and when we do go out, if we're going to point A to point B, we're picking up every sign between those 2 points, on our route there. I would love to dedicate every day to it, but
Well, I think there's 3 or 4 people that are probably doing it pretty diligently, I guess. I would like some direction that maybe more people or staff could be not directed, but encouraged to pick up signs as well. I think some people don't feel like there's a support for it or a need for it, just so that everybody's aware that, oh yeah, I should probably be doing this. We would encourage them to do it with a safety vest on and their flashers on, that kind of stuff in heavy traffic. I just want to know if it's an interest or not, and whether we should be directing my staff or whoever's staff to, if they see a sign, pick it up.
So right now, with the signs that are picked up, that's all that happens right now, right?
Yes.
So there's no contact to whoever, if there's a phone number on the sign or whatever.
We have stuff on the website. We do stuff with my newsletter, things like that. But yeah, we would, within that policy, if we're interested in doing policy, we would set up that the first offense we would, I think within the policy I had to stamp them, and then they could have them back if they want to come and get them. But once they offend that more than once, then we're going to throw it away. And if it's a third time, we're going to look at, we've got some real offenders that we could go into some kind of nuisance abatement kind of thing.
I would encourage if the city's picking up property, to have some type of procedure. Because if not, someone will say that you're taking the property and using it for our own use. This is a generational thing. It's always going to happen. You're always going to have pretty much the same volume. You're not going to change behaviors because the next generation is going to come up and replace the generation that changed their behavior. But knowing from a police perspective, whenever we take in property, obviously we have a protocol that we have to do. And my concern would be for the city at large, if you're picking up property, that you have some type of procedure that you approve of.
Right. Thank you. But, I mean, is that procedure that we're going to come up with, or is that something that the city manager is going to come up with?
There's a procedure within my policy.
Okay. But I'm just still trying to understand what you want from us. That it's okay to do that?
Yes. That there's a consensus that you want us to enforce it, and you want us to enforce it vigorously.
I would be for that as long as we continue to educate. I really think that, I won't say most people, but many, many people out there don't really know what the public right-of-way is. They don't understand that it's the entire area, between the street and the sidewalk, that's public right-of-way. I think a lot of people just don't know that.
Yeah, and that's one of our...
we need to just educate people, too, on what public right-of-way means.
Yep, and that's part of our process, is to educate and to take input and find out if there's better ways to do it. So we're just looking for direction to move forward. I know it's kind of a vague thing, and I didn't really come to you. I came to you with a policy, which I think we should work towards. That does put that procedure in place. It does direct staff to participate. It does encourage us to store them for a short period of time that allows them to pick them up. So, but it does allow us to dispose of them as well.
I think it should be enforced.
Yeah.
Strictly enforced.
Have a
and
policy.
I guess I think it should be up to Lon or whoever to decide who and when is going to be out there picking them up.
Yeah, it becomes a time-consuming thing or something, and if Lon wants to just direct 2 or 3 people to do it, that's fine. But
Dan, are you suggesting that
Sorry,
you would
Lon.
like all departments to kind of help with this issue?
Yeah, anybody that's out on the
I would
street,
say so, too.
and I guess that's the point I'm trying to make, is that anybody that sees one should pick them up and bring them back to City Hall. And
Maybe that's a new committee that should be formed. Citizen volunteers to go out and police the signs.
We really, and I'm not arguing with you.
You might have people that want to do that.
Doug over there, but we consider anything in the right of way to be abandoned. So we don't have that same feeling, but, yeah, but we do want a process in place, so, we would like some kind of organization, so.
Well,
Okay.
when I look at your proposed policy that you have, kind of draft, I mean, that's, the time commitment that's kind of laid out here is, you know, by taking the sign, possibly stamping and bringing it back to them. I mean, there's a lot of extra time and effort, you know, to do this. So I'm not sure if we're at this point in time would say, because if we say, yes, let's go ahead and amend bring up a policy and say, do this, and we're saying enforce it, that's a lot of extra time that you're having staff go out and,
And we can adjust to that. I can't think back of 2 or 3 people that have come in and got their signs. It's very, very, very minimal.
Mm-hmm. So.
Okay.
You know, I know in the past we've had citizens, you know, from the community come in and complain about that. Now, what if they would take it upon themselves to grab the signs and bring them here? Would that be okay, too?
That's fine with me. If
More
it's
help?
on their private property, they can absolutely do it.
Mhm.
And if it's in the right of way, I don't know that they're out of their right to do that, I guess, so.
We just don't want any fights.
Yeah.
No.
What about, there's a lot of really tall grass in the right-of-way now around the city, I'm noticing, especially uptown. This probably isn't.
With that, if there's any questions about my signs, I'll go sit down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Kim, did you have a question?
Well, you know, there's this issue every year. It seems like certain areas, they don't want to mow their grass. What do we do?
It's an ongoing issue. I would say that in the last week, we've probably responded to, I'm going to guess, I don't know, about 40 complaints probably for properties. I think I probably inspected 10 today alone. 4 on the list to mow tomorrow.
Can we mow it and?
Well, we will, but there, you know, again, we have to go through the abatement process that we have in place. So logistically, it does take a little bit of time from the time that the concern comes in, staff to go out, look at the property. We take a photo, goes back in. Darcy processes a certified letter. We give them the time limit to mow it, then staff to go back out, re-inspect, and then if they have not abated the nuisance, then schedule crew to go out and do the mowing. So it is somewhat of a lengthy process, and it does take up a lot of staff time to do those. You wish everybody would mow their properties, but unfortunately that's not the case.
What if, especially if it's a business? I mean, is there anything you could
It's
put
same.
some kind of lien on, or some kind of, I don't know.
It's pretty much the same process, whether it's business or a homeowner. A lot of times we do try to reach out to the business, and you know, a lot of times I'll just call them and talk to them and say, hey, can you know, we've had this complaint, you know, here's the process that we're going to go through if you don't, you know, address it. And a lot of times that'll motivate them to mow the property then. But, you know, we have a lot of the homes that you see that the yards have not been maintained. A lot of those properties are in foreclosure, you know, so it's hard to, you know, reach anyone associated with those type of properties to get someone to take care of them. So usually the springtime is you know, that period that we see that influx in the peak, and then as the summer goes on and weather gets a little drier, things slow down a little bit. But it's really noticeable during dandelion season and
Like a mine mown Saturday, so we're good now.
Oh, good.
It was getting long.
Okay, planning?
I was surprised I didn't have anybody call me.
First item I have is number 2. This is a preliminary plat for 17 lots along numerous various parcels along 7th Avenue, both sides of the Marion Iron roundabout, going from 25th Street to 31st. With all the construction, the future dedication of right-of-way, the transfers of a lot of pieces of property via plat of survey, just to create this right-of-way situation. We had a lot of just parcels hanging out there. Again, the small ones from the plat of surveys. We had older lots that were never formally platted. They had a really long legal description. And then you just had lots that were multiple lots, lot 1, 2, 3, and then part of this old alley that used to exist. So we had a lot of long legals, a lot of just properties that were really not well platted back in the day. Thomas proposed this preliminary plat to come through and clean everything up for us. It includes multiple owners, not just the city, but every owner along in this corridor. We've created lots based on other preliminary plats that existed in the prior, as well as what exists today for those properties. A good example here would be the Lebanon lot. This is 2 lots plus 2 plats of survey. Makes a cumbersome legal description, kind of ugly when you want to transfer it eventually. This preliminary plat will create a single lot that when Mr. Miller would come to say, I want to final plat it now, we've done all the hard work for him. We've got all that work done. He can then come in and final plat one single lot, have a nice clean legal description. Another good example is Mercy. It's over 2 large lots. These lots exist, so he's getting 2 tax statements. He's getting 2 parcels to transfer. St. Luke's. I got you.
Thank you.
The St. Luke's facility. So again, the preliminary plat creates the opportunity for Mr. Miller to do 1 lot when he does want to combine it and then sell it in the future. It just cleans everything up. It also gives the opportunity to create these smaller lots again to combine with future redevelopment of the excess right-of-way along 7th Avenue, and then just correct the minor leftover pieces along the roundabout. And finally, we have a preliminary plat that's not been approved yet as well for the GLD project in this location. These lots are set at identical to what their preliminary plat's calling for as well. This preliminary plat will probably cease, and this will become the preliminary plat for that site. Then they'll be able to come in and final plat the lots as needed. Any questions?
So there's so it would be what, southeast of the roundabout? So below lot 4? Is that just city right away? That
Right
big
here?
chunk? Yeah.
Yeah, that's just left. That'll be additional city right of way to accommodate the street as it goes south. And once redevelopment occurs in this area, that may get revised again in the future. We just a lot of unknowns there.
Okay.
Any questions? Next item starred is number 4. This will be for a public hearing on Thursday night regarding the vacation of Indian Creek Road, located between the future Tower Terrace Road extension to the south and Lucor Road to the north. Currently, only the west half of Indian Creek is dedicated right-of-way. The east half, along the future Gemstone addition, is still under access easement like any county road would. The farmer owns to the middle of the road. Because this property's never been platted, his property line actually goes out to the center of the road. This is all part of the approved alignment. And to begin that process with Tower Terrace Road,
Morriswood will be using some of this dirt as well, bringing it down Tower Terrace. It then requires Indian Creek to be closed eventually. So to close that, we're going to have to vacate the right-of-way, meaning it's no longer a city right-of-way, no longer a street, and then that allows us to close it and then develop the rest of the network around it. This is just the vacation. This is just getting rid of the city right-of-way on Indian Creek. It does not, Morriswood is not looking to purchase. When the city's not looking to sell, we're going to ideally keep the 50 feet of right-of-way, use it for a future trail from Tower Terrace up to Lucor and tie into that system as well. So this is just step one of many steps to come. I suspect Thursday we'll want to table, unfortunately, the action on it. After we hold the public hearing, we got to wait a little bit longer for the agreement with Morriswood regarding the construction of Tower Terrace to get caught up with this, which I hope's within the month or sooner. So we're hoping to get that agreement done and hammer it out before we get this any further down the road. We did have a very, very long commission meeting last month. A lot of folks from the Brookside. They all know it's going to be vacated. They all know it's going to go away. No objection to that. They just want to buy it. They want to ensure that they have their right to buy their half of the street, much like we do an alley. As many times as we said it, this is not for sale. At this time, we're just vacating it. If we were ever to want to sell it, or if Morriswood ever wanted to buy it, or they wanted to buy it, there'd be a whole other public hearing process. I don't know how well that was heard at the meeting, but I suspect there'll be a lot of people here expressing their concerns about wanting to purchase this old street. But again, we're not recommending to sell it. We want to use it for city purposes for the trail right away in the future. When it does get closed down, it will get closed down with the construction of this intersection. With the future development, Brookside will, of course, have access to the north from Lucor. And then we'll have to do a temporary turnaround, probably actually on Indian Creek Road itself, when this gets closed until this connection is made into the Morriswood development, which will be, I think, is the next phase actually. So they'll be able to circle through here out to Lennon and on to Tower Terrace in the future. So there will be two accesses to Brookside. This will just be temporarily closed until that phase gets connected. And there is a small section of Indian Creek Road from about this point to Brookside. We just don't know what it is, how big it is, so we'll have to rededicate portion of that right away at that later, once we know what we need to accommodate that little public street along the old Indian Creek.
So that was my question, because it looks like that road coming, you just said it was going to loop into the Morriswood development. It looked like that road was going to come out onto Indian Creek Road and connect into Tower Terrace.
Correct. The Morriswood's working on the design of that right now, so we'll have to have a portion of that. And we may carve that out of this. That's why we want to hold off action after the public hearing. Hopefully we have a defined area vacating the south X number of feet up to here, and then the north so many feet, excluding whatever we need there. And we're not sure what we need until the design's done.
Is there going to be an intersection at Tower Terrace and the current Indian Creek?
I'm sorry, you have to repeat that?
At Tower Terrace and Indian Creek.
Down here? This goes away.
So there won't be an intersection?
There'll be no intersection there, no.
So traffic from this end of Brookside is going to go into the Morriswood development?
Yeah, and through Lennon. Or up to Lucor. We just got a little further ahead than the project did, so we just got the public hearing was advertised, and unfortunately now we just got to slow it down for hopefully just at least one council meeting to let everything else get caught up.
I did want to, thanks for the segue, Dave, but the agreement on the construction of Tower Terrace Road has been under review at legal, and I think that's been completed. I have to take one more look at it. Went through the budget with Amanda and Dan on the CIP portion of it for this next road extension today, and if the council's amenable, we could place that on the agenda for approval on Thursday. It's an extension of the similar agreements that we've done in the past to get these pieces of Tower Terrace Road in. This is the next chunk that will take Tower Terrace Road over further to the west.
The construction plans for this section of Tower Terrace have been completed. We did final review last week, and they're ready to go. So if we can get that agreement approved and get with the developer, it'll be a public-private project with him, and if we can get that moving forward, we could get this going pretty quickly.
Which section is that then, from the end
Winslow,
of it?
it includes Lennon Lane over to the intersection with Winslow, with the old
Okay.
Winslow. We'll keep Winslow, we'll put a temporary intersection at Winslow going north, so that Winslow will stay open to the north.
On Old
Eventually, that
Winslow.
section goes away as well, so.
So with the completion of that project, essentially, we will have Tower Terrace Road built to either side of the bridge approaches.
I think it's imperative that section of Tower Terrace be in there before you even consider closing Indian Creek.
I think that was the plan to start west, wasn't it, Dan?
Yeah, the vacation only allows for it to be vacated. We'll still use it until such time as we close it for the project, which, if things go forward, could be by the end of the month.
I'm thinking how fire's gonna have to change their routes until we get that new fire station. If they're, that first house on Brookside were to be on fire, and the downtown Station 1 really couldn't get there.
They have to go up 29th and down the core.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to detour.
Take longer.
You know, once we have the new station, it'd be a lot easier. But
It's going to take longer to get up to all of Hunter's Ridge.
oh yeah, all of it. It's a
With
quarter
any
mile
pre-close.
further for me to get home going that way. I figured it out. So, 10 times a day, 365. So
10 times a day.
So
So
I think
when,
the proposed network works. I think it'll be good once we get there. It's that transition time between when we start and when we're finished. And the bridge is a big part of that, so,
as soon as you start working on the Tower Terrace section, Indian Creek is closed.
yes.
There's no way to keep it open
No.
until Tower Terrace is done. is
We,
what you're
we have to
saying.
raise the profile at the intersection by a couple feet to build Tower Terrace, to get over the culverts there, so there's no way to keep it open. But again, as Dave said, the vacation's kind of separate from all that. It's just the
Right.
first step to move forward.
And again, this is, I don't know how many lots it is, but this is the next phase for Morris Wood. And I think they're working on design right now, so that connection will be there. When they actually start construction of that, I don't know, but I know that's their next phase, so.
Are there going to be houses backing up to the houses on?
Yeah, there'll be
Brookside?
single-family lots all along the former Indian Creek.
And condos across the street?
Yeah, all the dark will be condo, and including a few lots down here.
Oh, the Darks condo?
All the darks are condos right now, the darker black lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it creeps down into here just a little bit, as I recall, but then all that light shaded in there, that's all single-family.
The light purple? Gotcha.
Is it purple? Yeah, it's
you know,
purple.
they're committed to one-family dwellings, as I remember.
Yes, correct.
up there.
All along that road,
Yeah.
All along both sides of that road there.
whatever that is called, Peridot.
Yeah.
Peridot.
Now, Tower Terrace, that interfere with their water drainage there, Dan? You know, there's quite a little pondage in there.
No, one of the reasons, as I said, we have to raise Tower Terrace is to get that water from the east side to the west side, over to Indian Creek. What was there currently is undersized. County put that in years ago. We're upgrading that to a 100-year storm and allowing the water to get over and across to the west. And then there's three new basins there, which will hold water for that 1-inch storm or the 1-inch cleanse at the beginning of the storm.
Is water and sewer on Indian Creek?
No.
No.
Sanitary sewer comes up from the west where Tower Terrace is and goes up along the south side of Edgebrook, and then everything else comes up from the west side of Brookside up into that development.
Sewer goes along the creek back there, I know.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a sewer back there, and then this development served from the, I think it's actually right. Well, actually, this dark line here, I think, was the or this,
Yeah,
I think the
goes
sewer
up
was
through
brought
there.
from here, more or less north.
Everything from Brookside comes from the west. If you remember, we did a project out there
Right.
a few years back, and some of that was 25-foot deep. They're all served.
Any other questions? So again, I do suspect quite a few people here on Thursday, and they're going to be more concerned about the sale than they are the vacation. Next item was number 6. I think this was covered at length prior, but this will be the public hearing regarding the sale of the alley to Larry and Joan Nessett, located off 29th Street. I think we've looked at this one twice now in the last week, so if there's any more questions, I can answer. But the sale price is $860 for our city policy. Number 8, this is the rezoning request by the city for the Public Service Department. With Ryan's presentation just an hour ago or so, this is really part Phase 2 and Phase 3 of his plans with the fuel station here and then the compost area across east of 44th. The annexation just got complete, so we're just rezoning it from Lynn County A and A1, which is in the city, to the I-2 district, which will accommodate all of Ryan's uses for the property. Then later in the agenda, there's another rezoning request to rezone portions of this property that were also just rezoned, including the city lagoon. I think that was just I think that might have been a just motion directing staff to proceed with that next phase of zoning. Any questions? Great. Number 14, this is the looking for approval of a scope of work and contract with Housel Levine for the Marion Airport land use plan and rezoning. They've got several deliverables as part of that contract, and it's laid out. Primarily, it'll be a land use and development plan for the airport, as well as a preliminary zoning map and standards, design standards for the city to adopt when we're ready to into our zoning code. I believe Mead Hunt was initially involved in this project, and I'm not sure of the specifics, but now it's they've had to back out of that project, and now we're entering contract with Housel Levine. They have done our comp plan, and we've been very pleased with their work in the past, and we think they're going to get a good product for us. And I think the contract is $52,000.
And read somewhere that it's paid for by...
Yeah, most of it's about 80% is going to be paid for IDOT, with 20% being paid by Luxair, the operator out there. Any questions on this one? My final start item. This is a Plata survey. I'm not going to try to go into a lot of detail, but this is normally we don't talk about Plata surveys, but this one's been as part of a development north of Echo Hill Road, Echo Hill Elementary, right in this location. This is initially an 80-acre preliminary plat that was approved. Everything in the green shaded areas are parts of 2 phases that were approved since it was preliminary platted. At some point in time, the owner of all this property sold the east half of it to another property owner. When they sold that piece of property, you can see they sold it not consistent with what was approved by the city. We cut future lots in half. We left some road right away in limbo, and they did this all to the north. They did this without city permission, recorded it, and by the time we caught it, it was years later, and it was actually caught by this landowner over here. So we have, the planning department has not allowed any future final plats out in this area until they correct the preliminary plat and the sale. This plat of survey is going to create 2 lots on the purple piece. I'll call it the south lot and the north lot. So they can sell. So this farm owner can sell it to the developer. He's doing it as 2, as they're going to work out some trades between the purple and the white area there to balance the property and make what they own match the preliminary plat. So this is This is step one of the correction. They're still got more plats of survey coming. After it closes on the purple, then we'll have 2 more plats of survey to balance the property out and correct the violation. This has been going on for about 4 or 5 years now, I believe. So we might be finally getting close to getting this development to start up again. It's a nice area close to elementaries. Nice smaller lots, so they're a little more affordable for a lot of folks. And hopefully this will get this area moving again.
They're apparently getting along better.
They're apparently wanting to get things sold, so I hope so. Any questions on that? The final item I had on there was number 16. It wasn't starred, but this is I think a letter of request from the Bondo family. They are north of the Marion, proposed Marion Methodist Church location out on 35th Avenue. They have 2 homes on the property, and they're looking to split those homes off from the larger parcel, farm parcel. Anytime you split, no matter how small a parcel, you're expected to meet all the final plat and all the improvements. They do have responsibility for 35th Avenue with this split of 2 homes. Obviously, 2 homes can't front the money for all the improvements at 35th, so they've asked for a deferral of those improvements. With the Methodist Church to the south, I think they're giving cash, and then we're going to spend that money elsewhere on different projects on 35th. It's just getting up to the point where they can ask for the deferral, but we've got a lot going on 35th, and the city council has to make a decision if they want to grant this deferral and make them pay it later or make them pay with a future split. I think we're looking at farmers that have no desire to develop. We could be deferring for a long time on this street, and development to the west with potential schools out there, that's just going to push 35th even more. Haven't talked to engineering about this one yet. This just received file, but this will be coming up probably for action in the next meeting. And we'll have a lot more information for you on that. But I got to talk to engineering first as well.
So you don't know the dollar amount yet?
Well, we can get you probably a pretty good amount just based on how much the Methodist Church is paying to the south. So we could probably get a really good estimate, I suspect.
Yeah, we did get, the church's amount we got today was $264,000, so I don't know how that compares frontage-wise.
Well, I mean, from what they're splitting, I mean, yeah, they own everything adjacent to the church, so if they were responsible for the whole thing, that amount, if they're just responsible for what they're splitting.
They have a full 40 there, don't they?
They have a full 40. They
So
actually
they'd
have
be the
a
same
full 80.
amount.
So obviously,
Why do they want to split
there's 2 houses on 40 acres.
Yeah.
And they want to split the 2 houses off.
So they can sell?
So they can live there. It's all in a big 5 or 6 siblings. 2 siblings want to have their property owned, of course, that they live on, and then keep the balance of the 40 acres in farm production. Actually, it's a balance of 120 odd acres for farm production, but I don't think they're motivated to develop or want to sell to developers anytime soon. And again, we could defer this cost and have all these impacts to the west, and then we're going to have to push the issue much sooner than later, I think, out on 35th.
Yeah, I think David said that west of here, there's a lot of interest going on over there, and this is all going to need to be paved in the next few years, as we've talked about previously.
So at some point, will you have a recommendation or something?
I'm hoping that once I sit down with Dan and have Tom back, we'll form a recommendation. I just don't see not doing it or not having some strong language to put them on the hook much sooner than later. Again, with everything going to the west, we just can't put this off, I don't think.
Does this city already,
And the other problem is this is in the county, too.
We're talking about improvements to the road or actually dedicating part of the road?
Well, as part of a final plat, they'll be dedicating a portion.
There'll be
but then they're also
dedication
going to have to make
and
the improvements, too.
They would be responsible for the paving of the street and the storm sewer, or paying for that up front.
Is that in the county?
It is in the county, and when they
County
final plat in
gonna
the county, they're required to sign an agreement, the memorandum of agreement that they'll annex in, that they won't contest any, basically they can line out what they want, when and will they will annex, what improvements they're going to be responsible for, and there's 4 or 5 other more minor items related to that, but Typically, you just don't defer improvements like this.
40 acres, I'm surprised they don't make them go in there and come, they did Waldo out on South 11th. When he took 1 acre out, they made him take the other 35 and plot it. And
Yeah, that'll be farms, they call it I think it's called agricultural reserve, but you get lot 1 and 2 of Obandos, which is the homesteads, and you get like an outlot A, which you can continue to farm, but you cannot build on because it's a lettered lot. So the county puts the restrictions on them that way. But then again, they own 80 acres of frontage along that, so they own not only what the church owns, but then they own to the west another 40 acres, which is adjacent to the Harriet Morris family. And again, they're out in the county as well, so it's kind of...
Oh, the preservation parcel split.
Thank you. Yes, that's what it is. So again, we'll have this one in 2 weeks. I know it's just receiving file, but there's a lot of information to it. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 4 is setting a public hearing for an amendment to the Central Corridor Urban Renewal Area. So as you may recall, last month, the urban renewal area was restated, the boundaries were, and the plan was restated. So now that's going to allow us to start processing projects through it. So for this amendment in particular, there is a holding spot in there for mixed-use development projects so that if the private side for the library project, the commercial and the residential, were to come through, it could potentially be processed through this amendment cycle. So the next 2, 5 and 6, are both related. Or did you have any questions on that first? Okay, the next 2 are related. Engel Properties has signed an easement agreement with the city to allow for the dumpster placement to consolidate the alley dumpsters that are currently on 8th Avenue and 10th Street. So these will be placed in the southeast corner of the Iowa Realty lot. And in return for doing that, they have asked for access to the back of the Anderson Bogart building where they currently have a few parking spots to regain those lost spots. The next step here would be to enter into a contract with a trash hauler and then put out an RFQ for an artistic enclosure to make the dumpster area more attractive in that alley area.
Questions?
The last one start is item number 17. Mr. Foster did stop in earlier today and was not intending to come this afternoon. He dropped off some more information that the council hasn't seen yet, and in discussions with him, he wanted you to have a chance to see and digest that before he comes and speaks. So we'll get that distributed to everybody.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you.